Hello, everyone. This is another session of our guest speaker series from Job Business Network of Canada. For those that are joining us for the very first time, Job Business Network of Canada is a nonprofit organization that supports immigrants in their career and entrepreneurial journeys. And today, we will be having Shalewa Onayemi, the founder of Entrepreneurship Canada, as well as a lawyer, joining us today. I'm going to kick off, first of all, by reading her profile. So Omoshalewa Shally Onayemi is a multi-jurisdiction lawyer licensed to practice in Alberta, Ontario, and Nigeria. She holds an MBA from Business School Netherlands and a certificate in HR from Bow Valley College, Alberta. She's a founder of Entrepreneurship Canada, where she dedicates her time to showcasing and creating visibility for Nigerian businesses in Canada, an influencer, a UGC creator, and a brand promoter through her platform, Shally _ where she shares food, faith, fashion, and lifestyle content. She's also a mom blogger at momsaffairs_NG, and the owner of KZBY Shally, an Afrocentric one-stop fashion brand with a mission to make every woman feel elegant and confident. She's happily married and blessed with 2 princesses. Please join me in giving a welcome to Shally Onayemi. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Of our series is Law and Entrepreneurship in Canada, Thriving Across Borders. And for those lawyers that are already qualified in other countries, immigrating to Canada, you may want to learn from Shalewa's story, how she became a lawyer. And also we would like to learn more about her businesses, as we have found out earlier that she's got a couple of businesses. So I'll start with my very first question. We always like to get to know our speakers. Can you share your immigration story? How did you find yourself in Canada, and how has your journey into law and entrepreneurship been? What inspired you to pursue a career in law and eventually become an entrepreneur? And what inspired you to merge these paths?
Okay, awesome. That's a pretty loaded question. So I'll start with my journey to Canada. So funny, I'd say I'm one of those people who felt like, or who believed strongly that they were never going to leave Nigeria. So my older siblings were all abroad. I had siblings in the UK. I had my brother in the US. And I would, go on holidays, but always go back to Nigeria because I'm like, Nigeria is home, But fast forward to when I got married and then had my first daughter, there was a lot of insecurities happening in Nigeria at the time. I lived in Abuja, and we had a few bomb blasts here and there. It just didn't feel safe. And then I went on a vacation with my daughter to London, and my sister also had a baby about the same period. And we would, go to community centers with the kids. There were just a lot of things to do with the kids. Everything just felt safe, and sane. And so I began to reconsider, maybe relocating isn't such a bad idea, you get. And about that period, I did get pregnant again with my second daughter. And we were contemplating, should we give birth to her in the US like we did the first, and somehow we just thought, maybe we just go to Canada. I have family in Canada, in Winnipeg. My husband has family in Alberta as well. And everybody's been like, come to Canada. Come. We're like, we're not coming. But at that point, I was like, maybe we should just reconsider. So I did my research. I'm someone who likes to research stuff. So, I went online, I looked at the process. I'm like, okay, I think we can do this. And somehow, it just felt like there was God's hand in it because everything just kept clicking, easily. Oh, you have to do the language test. I went and I had a really high band. You have to assess your credentials. I have an MBA, so I was getting a very high score. Everything just worked out fine. And yeah, next thing we were getting all packed up to go to Canada. And so that's how, I ended up in Canada. Like when I got into senior secondary school, I knew I wanted to do government. I knew I wanted to do this and that because then I can become a lawyer. um, so I got licensed in Nigeria in 2009 as a lawyer, and I practiced up until I relocated to Canada. So coming to Canada, I already knew I wanted to be a lawyer as well, and so I immediately started the process of relicensing. Now, there were hiccups at that point. I went to school to Bow Valley to do my HR course. Why, you may wonder, because you've done your NCAs. Why not just go ahead and get, do your provincial requirements and get licensed? But I already knew what I wanted at that point. I'm like, I wanted to do employment law. And the fastest way for me to learn about employment law in Canada would be for me to go to school to study HR, because the employment law was one of the components of human resources.
You had mentioned that you moved to Canada and you had gone through the relicensing process. And of course, you sat for the qualifying exams, the NCA Federation of Law Society, and then also satisfied the provincial licensing. And of course, you knew you wanted to do employment law. And so you went to school for that and even graduated with a distinction, which is great. It's such an inspiring story. And I know that there are different paths to becoming a qualified lawyer. Could you share the other paths that maybe some of your friends or colleagues in the industry or other immigrants that you know have satisfied in becoming a qualified lawyer?
To get relicensed, first you satisfy the federal one by the Federation of Law Societies of Canada, that's your NCA, and then you have to do the provincial requirements. Now, in Alberta, for example, you would need to do what's called CPLED. I don't know if they still call it CPLED, but it used to be CPLED. And as part of the requirements, you would need to article. Now, article means that you would have to be attached to a law firm for a period of about a year. Now, this is like a period where you get to learn, about the practice of law in Alberta. You're pretty much under the tutelage of your principal being the lawyer under whom you're working, right? Now, in my case, I didn't have to do that. Why? I think it was 2020. 2020 was when we had COVID, right? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So 2020, prior to 2020, I had actually spoken to a couple of lawyers and I'd believed that I already had where I was going to article. In fact, I had like 2 or 3 options. And then COVID happened. And these people were like, oh, Shally, right now, we don't even know, there's just so much uncertainty. We don't know. We don't know what next. We don't know how we're going to proceed. We don't know if, people are work. People have to stay at home right now. We don't know how we're going to train you from home. Like remote work wasn't yet a thing at that point. So it was really difficult. So I thought about it and I'm like, what can I do? How then do I become a lawyer? I can't just, be there, hanging in there indefinitely, right? So I did my research again. Like I said, I'm one for research because where there's a will, there's always a way.
Okay.
So yeah, so I did my research and then I realized that, you know what, I could sit for the Ontario bar exams. Now, in Ontario, based on my prior legal experience, I may not need to article. So in Ontario, they have 3 different pathways actually. So there's a pathway that includes articling. There's a pathway that includes exemption from articling. And there's a third one where they kind of attach you to a law practice themselves. Like I think that one takes like about 4 months. I can't remember. I don't have the full details now. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do the Ontario bar. Now, funny thing is, some people in Ontario even run away from the Ontario bar because they feel like it's so difficult because it's MCQs. You're dealing with over 100 questions thereabout. You have like 90 seconds per question. And if there's one thing about MCQs in Canada, is like all 4 options are usually, like identical quadruplets.
Yeah.
So, and it's not like straightforward questions like, oh, what's the color here? Green, blue, black. It's always like a scenario, you have to decipher what's going on and identify the answer. So it's an exam that has to do with, speed, intellect, your ability to, dissect situations. Like, it's pretty mentally tasking. But yeah, at the time I was actually working at the bank, caring for my kids, married and all of that, handling my businesses on the side. And then I told a few people, I said, I want to do the Ontario bar. And they're like, are you okay?
Wow.
Why don't you just wait? I'm like, I'm not waiting anymore. I'm doing it. They're like, okay, fine. So maybe take one now, then sit for the other one in another 6 months. I'm like, no, I'm doing both, And at this point, I had 2 months, literally 2 months to study. And to the glory of God, it happened. While
Wow.
working full time, I would close from work, get home, do my duties as a mom, as a wife, and all that. And then I'll get my books, I'll study. And I passed the exams. So after passing the exams, I then tried to apply for exemption. Now, the normal thing would be, you'd apply for exemption. So you even know and you're sure that you'll be exempted from articling, right? But I was willing to gamble. I'm like, you know what? Worst case scenario, I go to Ontario. Do you understand? Worst case scenario, I do the 4 months. I think it's called something practice. I can't remember now. I'm like, at least there are options. There are actually options. So yeah, that was it. I did, and then I applied for my exemption and fulfilled all the requirements. They have 9 core competencies. I was able to demonstrate that I had all of that, follow through the process. And I was called to bar in Ontario. And then I did a transfer to Alberta. That again took another. So I was licensed in Ontario February of 2021. Yeah. No. When did COVID was 2020, right?
Yes, 2020.
Yes. Yes. So I was licensed February of 2021 in Ontario. I didn't get relicensed in Alberta until about June. That's how long the process took, satisfying the Alberta requirements again. But the good thing was now I didn't have to article, So I'm like, that's fine. It's all about administrative stuff, provide this document, explain why this, all of that. And after all the back and forth, yeah, I got
Amazing
relicensed in
story.
both jurisdictions.
Amazing story. Like you said, where there is a will, there's a way. And
Yeah.
one thing I can glean from your story is you mentioned talking to people. When you're an immigrant coming to a new country, sometimes you feel lonely. And I think one of the best things you can do for yourself is actually to network and talk to the right people. Look at
Yes.
all your options. Don't just stick to one path because there are different paths to get in to where you want to be. Such an amazing story.
Thank you.
I'm sure that a lot of people have learned from it. For those who don't know what MCQ means, it's multiple choice questions. Other countries will call it objectives or just
Oh, yeah, true.
they're not non-essay questions pretty much, and that could be a bit challenging. Just to remind you, Shally's profile, she's also an entrepreneur, and so which means that she runs her business as well. I'd like to know, how did your legal background influence your approach to entrepreneurship? Like, how did you stumble into entrepreneurship? Was it something that you've always wanted to do? Some people will tell you that they're not cut out to be an entrepreneur or running their business. And I tell them that if you work for any company, just see yourself as a mini entrepreneur in that. It's pretty much, I mean, it's not the same.
True.
Let's
Well, yeah.
spade, but what influenced your launching or going into entrepreneurship?
Okay, thank you. So, well, just like the law, entrepreneurship is also something I've always loved since I was young. I've always been someone who identifies a problem and try to find a solution for it. I don't like to dwell on the problem. So yeah, way back in secondary school, I started, business. And it's a funny story, really. It's a funny story, really. I'll skip some and then I'll just go to I think the major one that really kind of set me in my path of entrepreneurship. So I was in SS1. I had just moved to this new school and I realized that, on people's birthdays, Valentine's Day, things like that, people would have to handcraft cards. right? You'd have to get cardboard and then you fold it and then you design it. And that was cute in GS1 to 3. But now
Mm-hmm.
we're in SS1. It's a boarding school for context. Now you're in SS1 to SS3. I felt like we should use real greeting cards. Like we should use the real happy birthday cards, like, but we didn't have any in the school and there was absolutely nowhere to buy it. So I took it upon myself to be the supplier of the cards. So this is what I would do when I go home on holidays. I get my pocket money maybe a few days before resumption. Like I would literally ask my parents for my pocket money and any other money I've saved up. And so I would go and buy cards in dozens, right? Then I would buy a dozen for like maybe 300 or 360 thereabouts at 30 naira each. And then when I get to school, because now there's a demand for it, I will sell it at 50 naira each. So I
Wow.
would almost double my pocket money, like at the end of the day. But it wasn't much of the profit, to be honest. It was the fact that I was, satisfying a need. I was filling a gap, and that was actually the birth of me being, an entrepreneur, right? Other than that, I would say my major inspiration really is my parents. My mom was a fashion designer. My dad was in the civil service, but he also had like, businesses on the side. So I already knew like the power of entrepreneurship. I knew that your 9 to 5 is great to have, but you also, need something on the side if you want a certain lifestyle. You understand?
That's
So
right.
that was really how it started. And so I continued from there, and then I started bringing other things in, so long as they're not contraband, and I would sell it to my friends, to my other colleagues, classmates, students, and all that. And then I went to university, and then I'll travel, I'll shop for clothes, and then I'll resell them. And I did that like literally all through university, NYSC, while I was working, up
Mm-hmm.
until when I actually moved to Canada. Really, I would do that. I would travel. When I had a baby, then my attention shifted to actually selling baby things again because, again,
Yep.
feeling a need. I tried to shop for my daughter. I went to the stores around town. I didn't like the quality of the things I was seeing, and the price wasn't smiling. I'm like, why should I buy something inferior at such an, expensive price? You
Mm-hmm.
get, I know how much these things cost. And so I packed my bags. I went to London. I bought mother care. I bought things from Primark. I bought, and I started selling baby things again. I registered the business, Kiddies Zone by Mom's Affairs back then. And that was what I was doing on the side while working my 9 to 5. So when I moved to Canada, um, I couldn't do the same business because the model was travel abroad, buy the things, bring it to Nigeria. But
Mm-hmm.
right now I'm abroad, so I'm like, I'm not gonna go buy clothes from London to sell in Canada. What next then? I'm like, well, African pieces. I should bring African clothing. I can infuse, the Ankara with the Canadian kind of, just marry both together, match them together. And so instead of maybe making like full length Ankara clothes and all that, I would mix it up maybe with a chiffon material and Ankara, a t-shirt with Ankara sleeves, just bringing both together in such a way that my outfits are not just limited to fellow Africans, but also people in Canada as well will see it, appreciate it. They will see something familiar with something extra, and they would be willing to try it on. And that was how KZ by Shally started. It's actually Clothier Zone by Shally. That's how that started. Um,
So let
and
me.
then, yeah,
Is it like an actual store or it's an online
so it's
store?
online. It's
Okay,
online.
on Instagram or
So
LinkedIn.
Instagram, yes, Instagram. I do have a website. It's currently down, but
Okay,
yeah. So yeah,
people can just go in
um,
there, just order or send you a DM.
yes. It's on
Okay.
Facebook as well. Yeah, it's on Facebook as well. You can just DM me. You can just let me know what you want. But the
Okay.
website will be back up again soon, so at least that would make the shopping experience easier.
Mm-hmm.
So on Claudia Zone by Shally, I sell clothing, I sell accessories, I sell waist trainers. Again, like I said, the idea is making every woman feel confident, and I always use myself and my situation as my why, you
That's right.
understand?
That's
As
right.
a mom, I'm like, okay, I'm wearing this outfit. I don't like how they sit on me. What then can I do That's how I started to stock waist trainers. I'm like, yeah, so it's a one-stop shop. You can come, you can literally buy everything you need except the shoe and the bag though. But you can literally buy like your outfit, your jewelry, like everything you need from one spot. Um, so that's that about Claudia Zone by Shally. I did have another business that I have stopped. But that's actually what led to the birth of Nigerpreneur Canada. So when I just moved to Canada, on a wonderful Saturday, I woke up and I fried puff puff just because I was craving that Owambe feel. And I posted it on a WhatsApp group. I'm like, well, I got my dose of Owambe, like all that's missing is the party, but I'm good. And everyone were like, oh my God, that's like the best looking puff puff I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, it's just puff puff. It's not like, Shally, are you selling that? I want to buy. I'm like, okay, hold up, guys. It's not that serious. But then the messages didn't stop. It kept coming, and everybody's like, Shally, I'm not joking. I've never seen puff puff look that good, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, let's see. Again, research mode. And so I had to take the food safety course. I had to do the better food basics because I just feel like whatever is worth doing is worth doing right? So after doing that, then I started to cater from my house, like for friends and family, small events, just, yeah. And that went well. But again, remember, I was in school, I was working, I was trying to get relicensed. So I really had my plate full. And I'm like, this is not sustainable because this is not Nigeria where you have like lots of staff. And this is something that's literally just starting. You can't even employ people to help you yet. But catering in Canada is like a full-time job. Like it takes your physical energy. It takes it was a lot. I wouldn't lie. And so I had to take a break. I'm like, well, guys, I'm not doing this anymore. However, I would find you people that you can actually buy from. And so I started something called the Top 10 Nigerian Food Entrepreneurs in Calgary. And so the idea was people should come and tag people that they've patronized, that delivered excellent service, tasteful dishes, and things like that. And so we did that. I did that for 3 years. And other people were like, other industries were like, well, Shally, what's up? Why is it just the food business? Why won't you spotlight us? Why won't you promote us? Why is it only the caterers? Why is it, and really and truly, again, that propelled me to think outside the box. And I'm like, okay, well, this is truly restricting. The name of the business was the Yum Cuisine. I'm like, well, I can't start promoting a beauty brand under Yum Cuisine. I can't, so I had to sit and think. And I'm like, okay, I think it's time to make this something bigger. And I'm like, you know what? Let's create a platform for Nigerian entrepreneurs, regardless of their industry. Let everybody be able to shine. Let's put a spotlight on everyone. And that was how Nigerpreneur Canada came about. And yeah,
amazing.
pretty much.
Amazing. Yes. And that's what entrepreneurship is all about. Entrepreneurship is about filling a gap, determining that there's a gap here, there's a need that needs to be satisfied, a service that I need to provide, and just filling that. That is what entrepreneurship is all about. And you've definitely demonstrated how you've done this over the years. And it's very, very nostalgic listening to your story. I'm also an entrepreneur, even though I'm currently a student. I know that in terms of like starting a business or even the relicensing certification, it requires funding. And so can you perhaps talk about the financial investments that you have had to put up, in doing any of this, like you're running your businesses or even just you're just licensing. Can you talk about that aspect? Because that's always something very big on the mind of an immigrant. They're coming into a country, trying to acclimatize to not only coming into the country as a new person, but also the weather, dealing with the weather, and then finances is always big on their mind.
Well, for business, I'll say there are lots of options out there, right? Access might be an issue, but those options are there, So there's BDC,
Yeah.
There's Face Coalition.
Oh,
Yeah, so there are kind of like a couple of options out there, to be honest.
okay.
Um, when I see those opportunities, I bring them on Ninjapreneur so that people can apply. There are
Okay.
grants that businesses get. I haven't gotten any. I have to be upfront about that. In terms of financial, what do I put in now? In terms of the finances that has gone into my relicensing and my business, I would say it's more of personal funds and support from my spouse, basically.
Mm,
I haven't had to, get funding from anyone else other than my spouse and myself. So yeah, I'm thankful to God for that. But yeah, those options are out there. One thing again I know is some people, so I know I've spoken to some people in the past where they say things like, oh, I don't want to get a credit card. I don't want to get a credit card. I don't want to put myself in debt. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Well, if you have a business, I would say yes, go for the credit card. If the option is there, if they find you credit worthy enough, take it. There's
mm,
line of credit as well. You can always explore that. Now, remember, it is your business funds. It's not for Gucci bags, right? So that you can keep on track and spend wisely, right? So that might also be an option if you don't have, access to that money. But for like your relicensing, for example, yeah, it's usually most times out of pocket for most people because there's really no funding or scholarship for you to get relicensed, right? Especially when you're coming in as a PR anyways, the expectation is that you have proof of funds, right? You brought some funds along to help you attain that professional qualification. Now, another thing you can do as a new immigrant is get a job, right? If you didn't bring that money from home, make that money in Canada. That's why you're here now. There are opportunities out there. So, like I said, I worked at a bank, right? I was a customer service representative for a couple of months, right? So is that my dream job? No, it's not. But at the same time, I will not just sit at home idle and just expect that, a miracle would come and follow my laps, right? You have to do something. But the most important thing is you have to have a goal that you're working towards. You need to know, okay, this is a temporary gig. I don't want to get sucked into it because that happens as well. Sometimes you start a temporary gig because you're trying to save up some money towards your bigger goal, but 10 years down the line, you're just stuck in there, right? So it's all about having goals and working towards those goals. So yeah, let Canada pay for it. Get a job in Canada, earn money, and save towards your goals for your relicensing, that is. But for your business, I strongly advise that you look at the options out there, open, and that's why you should register that business, open a business account, get a credit card, get a line of credit, look at grant options out there, then look at all those organizations that were set up to support Black businesses. Again, there's FACE, there's BDC, there are a couple others. I share them when I see them. I know in Ontario there are lots of grants. In Alberta there are grants as well, but what I've noticed is majority are tailored towards not-for-profit. So you just have to really do your research. Yeah, I guess.
right. Absolutely. Having a goal and a plan and working towards it, it's the way to go. I mean, write down your goals and check them as you accomplish them, and you'll see them come to reality. You've done it in such a way that you've been able to juggle between having a full-time job as a lawyer, but also doing these other businesses on the side. It's quite manageable. You're able to like have like a Instagram page, like a online site, and still manage it easily. It's not like you have like some people have businesses where they have to be there physically, they have to go in and manage the operations. It's that is a little more tasking. Would you say
Yes.
that those like what are some of? I mean, that's obviously a benefit of running an online business. Could you talk about some other benefits as well as some of the challenges that you have faced and how you've been able to overcome those challenges?
Great. So yeah, online businesses would give you that flexibility, to be honest. And you're able to use your time to your own advantage versus, if you have to go in. But it depends on your industry. Do you understand? You can't be an hairstylist, for example, and say, well, I'm going to run my business strictly online. Like, are you going to weave people's hair online? You know, so you have to look for something that fits your schedule, something that would work with your circumstances. So for me, it's always been a case of, law is my number one passion. Like, yeah, I have to be able to do my work, but at the same time, I have to also do my business. I love that they're like twins. I love them both. But the truth is, I always wanted that flexibility to be able to run my business. So yeah, definitely having it online helps a lot. Gives me flexibility. Also gives me control of my time. I can do it in the evenings. I can do it on the weekends. Like there's no conflict in any way, which is good. Now, in terms of challenges, well, I guess sometimes you can't really eat your cake and have it, right? So let's say somebody wants to pick up an item at a particular time, but then you have to be at work. So that's one of the challenges sometimes, availability. So while it's a blessing, sometimes it can almost feel like a curse because someone is like, okay, I stay in the deep south. I'll be coming to the north, for example, tomorrow morning when I'm picking, can I come tomorrow morning? Like, oh, well, no, I'll be at work. Can I ship it to you? And the person like, well, I don't want to pay shipping. I'm coming to the north. I can just pick it up. Like, so those things come up. So it's all about finding a balance at the end of the day, trying to convince the client, make them understand, okay, how then can we make this work? I've had to sometimes package an order and keep on my doorstep. I have a camera and all of that to monitor when the person comes to pick it up. That happens. I've also had issues, where I remember because of COVID, we started curbside pickup, right? So we could come and pick up at the curbside, and then COVID kind of went away, and I still had curbside pickup on my website. And so for some people, it was like an invitation to visit, right? So they'd be like, okay, I want to buy this earring. It's $20. I'll pick it up. Now they come to your house to pick up this earring and they're there for like an hour tapping your, brain on, I want to do this business. I don't know how to go about it. Initially it was cute. You understand? Because you feel like, oh, you're helping people, you're pouring yourself into people. But then you realize that your time, you cannot get it back, right? Like now you've put in 2-3 hours just having conversations and you've only sold $20. Do you understand? So I had to then strike a balance as well. Like, okay, it's curbside pickup, it's curbside pickup. Like I'm meeting you literally outside. You're not knocking and coming inside the house. This is not we're not trying to build a friendship. Yes, friendship can happen, of course, but this is business. Let's stand on business. Some people are probably not gonna like this, but that's just the truth. I had to pinch myself and make that call and do that. So again, I guess it's about, for that one, I'll just say it's about having boundaries, right? Which I've actually said many times, not here, but like on other occasions, that I lacked boundaries initially. I didn't have boundaries. I was so, welcoming and receptive of everybody until I realized that there was a need to actually have boundaries. So that was a challenge. Yeah, another challenge again would just be the shipping costs generally, because you want to service clients beyond your province, you want to service clients even within your province, but because you're not able to deliver to everybody physically, because that's another thing. So shipping costs, some clients don't want to pay shipping, but you can't also take that in, right? So you can come up with, okay, if you spend XYZ amount, then you get free shipping, right? That can be a solution. Another thing I started to do was free delivery within my neighborhood. So that would at least encourage people to buy. So you buy, I pick a day, I'm like, maybe, okay, let's say I do free delivery on Tuesdays. So whatever you want to buy, you're buying it before Monday evening. So on Tuesdays, maybe after work or something, I'll just drive here and there, drop, and then I'm back home. So it's just always, there will always be issues, there will always be challenges, but again, for every problem, there's a solution. So it's about researching and maybe asking questions, looking at how other people online are doing it, and yeah,
And
you
get
win at the end of the day.
the feedback from your customers to see what they want to
That's essential. Yeah.
to do to see what they want to see differently. Oh,
Yes.
very great. And so a couple more questions. We're coming to an end soon, but I want to dig further into your blogging platforms. I would assume the blogging platforms are not for profit, right? They're just probably some things you do for leisure, right?
Yes.
Nigerpreneur will be one of your blogging platforms, or is that like a like a registered business, or just more like a blogging as well?
Uh,
Talk
yeah,
more
well, I'll say,
aspects, or like
yes.
I know some people start as bloggers, like, oh, I'm a blogger, but
Yeah.
they make a lot of money. Like, how is blogging done in Canada? Is it a for-profit venture? Which I'm sure some people would like to know. Do people just like blogging?
Okay.
Like, I personally like to blog if I have time because I like to share information. I like to I don't like to keep just information to myself. I want to share with other people, so I blog. So how would you
Mhm.
say the blogging business is like, or how does it work?
Okay. How does it work? Okay. So Entrepreneur Canada is a community page. I like to call it a community platform. Versus Mom's Affair NG. Mom's Affair is a mom blog where I share things, about motherhood, right? I actually have like a WordPress page as well linked to the Instagram page where I actually bring on other moms as well to kind of share their own story. So on Moms Affair NG, I would share pictures of other moms, their cute kids. I would share things that kind of work for me as well that other moms can find useful because again, that was how that particular community started. I was a new mom. I was looking for resources online. I couldn't find them, I just like, there's really no manual. There's really
Yeah,
no manual to motherhood. They just throw you into it and they just expect you to,
right.
yeah. And so I'm like, no, I can't do this alone. So that was how that one started. So on there as well, I would promote businesses and all of that. I don't charge for all that services on Mom's Affair. It's just, bringing
Blogger.
the resources that I find, sharing what I love and all of that.
Okay.
Nigerpreneur Canada, on the other hand, yes, it is a community page. Um, but we do a lot. I do a lot of, free publicity. I do a lot of, free visibility and all of that. But we do have a paid service as well. So, in terms of the free ads, I would celebrate entrepreneurs on their birthdays. So I'll do like I have what I call like the celebrants of the month. So it comes in like three different parts, and I'm celebrating more than what 30, 40 entrepreneurs monthly through that. We have what we call the new business in Canada, and on that we're doing like 19 businesses every month. We have, events in Canada this month. Again, that's absolutely free. Like so many things. Just the goal really, I think is more about passion, to be honest. The goal really is just to put our businesses out there. Because see, if we don't do it, nobody's gonna do it. Like there's this thing I see everywhere lately. It's like nobody's coming to save you. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, this is how we can at least save ourselves because if there's no place where you can really go and be like, okay, I'm looking for, let's say I'm in Ontario and I'm looking for a hairstylist or I'm looking for a makeup artist. So I'm looking, like we need to have a platform. We need to have those platforms. Like, and I've had people ask me, oh, why Nigerpreneur? Why don't you just do Black businesses, Afro businesses? I'm like, well, that's where my passion lies. It's for Nigerians by a Nigerian, and we're just keeping it at that. So yeah, it just depends really on what the brand wants at the end of the day. Again, because it's a community page, even though there's a paid aspect to it, I don't, as a matter of principle, do more than 2 ads for any business in a month. Why? Because the platform is not for the highest bidder. It's not for the richest entrepreneur. It's a place where every brand that is spotlighted deserves to be seen. You get like at the end of the month, and the way the page is really, you can literally scroll down and you see all of our activities from January till now. I don't post like every single day, 5 times a day, like like it's intentional. I space things out so that everything is visible. So even if you do an ad with the brand, it's there. Do you understand? Like people can still see it. 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the line, they can still see it. So yeah,
That's
we keep
great.
doing it the way we can, yeah.
That's great. I mean, the thing about entrepreneurship that a lot of people do not understand is it's very passion driven. And some entrepreneurs will rather actually run the business without even getting paid because they're so passionate about it. It's something that keeps you awake at night. Like you're like thinking about like what's the next step and all that. But the challenge always comes where how do you monetize it? Because like you said, nobody's coming to save you. Like how do you begin to monetize it so that you at least have some money to run it, to make it bigger and better? And I think that is one challenge a lot of entrepreneurs or people that are very pro bono oriented fall into. Just don't know. They're not always thinking about money first. Like, how do I monetize it? They're always thinking about like, how do I get it out? How do I help people and all of that? So
Yeah.
it's so inspiring listening to you and hearing about your entrepreneurship journey. And finally, we do have a question for you. Can you share some final words of advice and encouragement? And we obviously have really enjoyed the session, really listening to your inspiring story. It's been an hour of being inspired and motivated to step out of our comfort zone to do more. Like there is more you can do beyond 9 to 5. You can juggle your job with other passions. I think a lot of people fall into that situation where they just cannot see themselves doing 9 to 5, particularly in Canada. It's a very, compared to other nations, like you said, Nigeria, I've happened to live in Nigeria as well. It could be a very stressful environment, but Canada is a bit more chill. And there's always a time to do other things. So you always have that need to do other things to meet a need. And so what final words of encouragement, advice would you have to offer to people that are planning to become qualified lawyers or entrepreneurs or even serial entrepreneurs like you are?
Okay. Yeah. Well, the first thing is research, 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 research. Whether you're trying to relicense as a lawyer or any profession at all, do your research before you even pack your bags so
Yeah.
that you're not faced with surprises, right? Start the
Mhm.
process if you can from your home country. If that's an option, then start the process. So when you come here, you're not like overwhelmed. In terms of starting your own business, again, identify a gap and try to fill that gap because there's so many opportunities, there's so many businesses out there that you can do, and there are people probably doing that business already. That does not deter you. The sky is big enough. One thing I've realized is that we can all win together. And so you have to be able to collaborate with others as well. Now, I know that most Nigerians can be quite competitive, and I don't blame them. It's something that we grew up with right from when we were children. That's what I've come to realize. Like, because, for example, you go to school, you come second or third. Even your parents will ask you, they'll be like, the person who came first, do they have two heads? Like, you were
Yeah.
so close to first. Why did you come first? So there's that, competitive spirit already in us. Like, no, we have to win. We have to win. It's okay to just think collaboration first. Just think collaboration, and it's fine to compete, but please be healthy. Do it in a healthy way, healthy competition. It's okay for somebody to motivate you. It's okay for you to see someone as, okay, I like what she's doing. I want to do the same. I think I can do the same, but not from a hater's perspective of, oh, please, what's wrong with her? Why is she blah, 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 blah. Like, no, that's not needed. So, yeah. And network, meet people, hear their experiences, pick what you can. And whilst you're networking, again, be mindful, have a discerning spirit. It's not everybody that you need to actually, network with. Because one thing that I've realized is, especially as a new immigrant, the first set of people you meet really kind of determines a lot. People come into this country, you meet someone, they're telling you, well, I worked in a factory, I had to wear steel toe boots, you have to do the same. Know what you want. Don't let anybody force you into what you don't want, because it happens. I've seen stories like that. I've heard stories like that. So know exactly what you want, work towards it. It's fine to get a survival job in the interim, but don't get so sucked into it that you then forget your end goal, right? And guess what? There's nothing you really want to do in Canada that is an impossibility. You can be anything. Trust me, you have more strength in you than you even know. I was a very fragile person coming into Canada. I'll be very honest. I was
Wow.
one of those people woo, when I have a headache, I could literally cry. What did you say?
I said it's unbelievable seeing how you're talking right now.
Yeah, I was one of those people that, if I have a headache, I could start crying, like my head really hurts, that kind of person. But I came into Canada, I had my toddler, I had my baby, my husband went back to Nigeria. I found strength. I didn't even know I had that strength. I couldn't believe it. But well, look at me now. Like I'm so strong, I'm juggling 1,001 things and I'm not even flinching. Do you get? So
Yeah,
when strength becomes the only option you have, trust me, you find it. So before it becomes your only option, just try and find it because it's in there, it's
yeah,
somewhere, and you can do it. And just like Clara said earlier, if you're doing a 9 to 5, trust me, then you can also be an entrepreneur because you're putting your brain work, everything into building somebody else's business, which is fantastic because you learn a lot there, you grow and all that, like I don't have a problem. I love 9 to 5, but then you can also, I feel like you should also put that same energy as well into building something for yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, trust me, as beautiful as 9 to 5 can be, sometimes it gets brutal, especially when the relationship doesn't quite work out well. That's when you then, because as an employment lawyer, trust me, I know this firsthand,
many
right?
issues. You're dealing with human issues already,
Yes.
and you haven't.
So, yes. So it's always
Absolutely.
good to just have that thing. So find something you're passionate about. Again, passionate about, very important because entrepreneurship can frustrate the life out of you. There are days when you wake up, you're like, you know what, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And the only thing that will keep you in there is your passion. Do you get?
Yep.
So you have to be passionate about it. Don't do a business because your friend is doing it. Everybody's cooking. I'm going to cook. Everybody's doing. Nah. Find the one that works for you and go all out. And most importantly, share your story. Put yourself out there. See, the era we are in now is not when your business is something you keep between your friends and family. Trust me, people are cashing out on social media. Put your business out there. Show up for your business. Use influencers if you have to. Look for community platform. Advertise your business. That's one thing I've realized that a lot of immigrant businesses do not do. It's good to get the free features. It's good to get the free spotlight, but sometimes opt for the paid one. Do you understand? There's a reason why it's paid. Just have a budget for marketing. Like, I'm not kidding. I see a lot of people, you have an event, for example, you've paid to bring an artist from Nigeria. You've paid their flight, you're paying their accommodation, you're feeding them. You're paying for so many things, but you don't have a budget for marketing. And then you go in the DM and like, oh, sis, please, can you just help me? Why should I help you? Like, I'm going to post that flyer eventually, but do you get my point? Like, you should have a budget for marketing. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how little it is, have something. These are people that are going to help you push that at the end of the day. So, yeah. And above all, okay, well, before I get to that, also have a community, have your own tribe, find your own tribe, that works for you. People will cheer you on, people will tell you the truth, for what it is, people will encourage you, people you can go and rant to on days when you feel like you're running mad. And above all things, God, the God factor, I cannot overemphasize that. You need God. I promise you, you need God. He's the only one that can make things really easy for you, especially in Canada or anywhere you may be. You really need God. So pray about everything. Pray about your career. Pray about your business. When it's slow, when it's doing well, whatever the situation is, just keep it in prayers and keep putting in the work. And trust me, the sky is your limit.
That's
And
fine.
I wanted to say something. Sorry, I just wanted to say something. But I'm inspired by the wins of Nigerians across Canada. For
Mm,
every time I celebrate somebody's win, it's like a push. It's like a ginger. It's something that just it builds up something within me. That makes me know that that goal I have, I can achieve it. She did it. Do you
mm-hmm.
understand? It means
Yeah.
I can do it too. So I
Okay.
draw strength from the wins of fellow Nigerians across Canada. Yeah.
Amazing, 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 amazing story. Well said. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for this inspiring session, for pouring out your mind and just taking out the time out of your work schedule to be here. I'm sure that you have inspired one or two people here today. I would end with the note that we are not going to give up. Never ever give up, like Shally said, never give up. We're not going to give up here at Job Business Network of Canada. We are helping immigrants. We are one of the many other organizations out there supporting immigrants. We're open to everyone, immigrants that are looking to promote their careers or transition to a new career. We have mentoring sessions. We have the guest speaker series. Shally honored our invitation on such a short notice. And we are looking to partner with so many other organizations. And we're also looking to hear so many good stories that will be coming from Nigerpreneur and Shally's businesses. We've had guest speakers here on Job Business Network that are doing so many things. They've diversified. And that is just one of the reasons why we do this, because coming here to this platform to share your story inspires you to go out and do more. Because you don't want to keep repeating the same story. You want to say, oh, and then 2 years after I did this, I did that. So thank you so much again. We have been really honored to have you here, and we're looking forward to hearing about you again and reading about you. If you want more information about Shally's businesses, her blog and business or handles, please follow our pages, and social media handles will be at the very end of this recording. Thank you very much, and make sure you share the interview. Have a great, amazing rest of the week. Bye-bye.
Thank you so